Hey, what's going on everybody? Chris with InsideTheU. It is raining right now. I'm gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible, but also provide as much information as I can. So right now I'm at Southridge Park here. It was a great event with Torian Wilson and his crafting lineman staff. They put together this 5-on-5 thing, and if you haven't heard yet, you guys all know about these 7-on-7 events all around the country, but they're starting to do these 5-on-5 travel team with the offensive line and defensive line. They'll go head to head in this travel competition. So really looking forward to that. His group is gonna be at March 11th is their first tournament up in Atlanta. Other teams are gonna get going a little earlier than that. There's an event in Miami March 5th. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it, seeing how all this thing translates. And just talking to a lineman today afterwards, and he said, look, all the small guys get all the love. They break the big gains, they get the big yardage, but it's about those guys kind of putting in the work and grinding, those line of scrimmage guys. And certainly we know about Miami and their emphasis on line of scrimmage play with Mario Cristobal, offensive line and defensive line. So it was good being out here. There were a few guys that stood out to me. Basically it was a group of about 20, and also he had another event in Broward County yesterday. So, and also I want to get into this Broward County thing that I was at yesterday, the Hotbed 7v7 Classic. A lot of top teams, 10 teams in all, the South Florida Express. I didn't do a recap after that day. It was really windy. So weather has been an issue these last 2 days, really windy and also rainy today. But the bottom line is this 2024 recruiting class and other guys are grinding right now. It is early on in their recruitment year, but they're putting in the work, and it's great to see. Again, all these guys on both sides of the ball putting in good work. A lot of guys I want to get to and kind of give you guys what's to come also on the channel. I've been doing these individual videos and some team stuff. I've got some more stuff to get into that. So at today's event, there were a couple players on each side of the ball that stood out to me. I'm going to post their videos, this one-on-one competition, so you can take a look at these guys. Right now they're under the radar. Miami hasn't offered these guys, so it's not anything like that, but I wanted to come out here and kind of see what these guys are doing. But I do want to give a shout out to the guys that did well today. Ethan Van Zandt, 2024 offensive lineman over at Palmer Trinity. He's being coached by a former UM staffer, Mark Reese. So he's getting good coaching over there. I always enjoy talking to Coach Reese. But Van Zandt, played some tackle. He's got good size. FAU showing interest right now. He's been to a UM camp. We'll see how his offseason goes, but I thought he did well today. So a lot of the guys were from South Florida today, but there were a couple guys in the Tampa area that came out to this event. I thought they did a good job. Justin Harper out of Lakewood, an offensive lineman to pay attention to. We'll see how things go with him as he progresses in his development. And then also Christopher Kalu, defensive tackle, really got after it today. A lot of fun to watch in one-on-one competition. Had his tank top get ripped, but just kept plugging away, so he did well. Another defensive lineman that kind of stood out was Jonathan Clark from Southridge right here in his home park here. So just some few guys to pay attention to. But there's one guy that I didn't get a chance to see that Torian was really excited about, and that's Rashard Bell out of Dillard. And he performed really well at yesterday's event. And, he did so well that Oklahoma State and Miami have already inquired about him. So maybe he's a name to pay attention to. I'll post more information on him as I get it. But definitely those are some names to watch for. Some guys that did well in this 5-on-5 action. Once again, just good being out here and seeing these linemen put in work. So going back to the event at the Hotbed 7v7 Classic, won by the South Florida Express. They beat the Lux boys. I'm going to have the full game of that championship game on the channel, so stay tuned to that. I want to talk about the Express. Definitely a lot of big names were out there, but first I want to talk about the Ghost Riders. Not a big name, but there were some big name players there. Isaac Brown, good seeing him. A running back that's really dynamic, catching the ball, really explosive athlete. He's a guy that Miami's still looking at, paying attention to, even though he's committed to Louisville. But I thought he looked good, ran well, just a really physical specimen, and a guy that I've seen since he's been younger and just continues to make plays, a kick return guy that can catch passes, a guy that I really like with how dynamic he is with what he's able to do with the ball in his hands. Another guy, Cortez Mills, 2025 out of Homestead, wide receiver. To me, I've already seen him a few times. I've seen him obviously at Homestead, but he's got great speed and he gets downfield really well, kind of a smooth route runner getting downfield. So he was out there for the Ghost Riders, who really challenged South Florida Express in that early morning Saturday game, and they actually struggled to go 0-3 in the first pool play, but then they win a couple games in the tournament. So the Ghost Riders were fun to watch. A couple other guys going through film that was good to see. Rashad Snow, if you remember that name, he got a Miami offer a few years ago. He was from down here, then he played at North Fort Myers. I'm hearing he's back at Homestead, so he's a guy to maybe pay attention to, so it was good seeing him out there. And also a guy that transferred to Homestead, and Homestead, you know, made that state championship game appearance, James Randall. So wide receiver, really good skills. Another guy that was out there for the Ghost Riders. The rain is really coming down now, but I got to get this last name in. Leon Williams out of Palm Beach Central did really well for the Lux boys. 2 touchdowns in that championship game of the tournament. Under the radar guy did well. I'm going to get back. I'm going to get some cover, and then we're going to talk about the South Florida Express. A lot of big names that I want to get to, but I got to get out of this rain. So I had to get to somewhere where it wasn't raining. I couldn't finish up my video at Southridge, but only 5-10 minutes away. It was completely clear skies. You wouldn't even know it rained, but rain was certainly an issue today. I broke my umbrella, so we got to get a new umbrella. Hit the super thanks button, and maybe we could get a new umbrella for next time. But let's get into it. South Florida Express, certainly impressed at the Hotbed event, 6-0. They rolled to the wins. After that first one was a little closer. You know, and I want to get into this guys impressed, and starting with Jeremiah Smith, obviously a highly regarded guy, but sometimes when you see highly regarded guys, you wonder if they produce every time or just your impressions of them, and certainly rankings can change, but Jeremiah absolutely dominated the event, in particular the South semifinal game against the Ghost Riders, playing them again. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 2 conversions to start it off also, so certainly he was getting into the end zone. And if you guys are new to 7-on-7 stuff, basically you get about 4 or 5 possessions each game, the way it works with the timing. But Jeremiah is certainly impressive, and what impresses me most, excellent catch radius. He's got great size, but he's got great speed, great acceleration, and you don't see that with that kind of size. So he's able to catch balls in traffic, makes high point catches as well, but again, has a great catch radius, and certainly everything, all of his skills were on display at the event. And you want guys that are more highly regarded than the other players to really shine, and there's no doubt he did. He was the best player at the event, in my opinion, and he certainly did well. And Miami's going to do everything they can to get him, as he's already committed to Ohio State. And he's always at these events, always wearing the Ohio State red arm sleeve. So, you know, he's committed right now. We'll see how it transpires. If Miami can get involved, even more involved, get him on campus and impress. And certainly you would have liked, from a Miami standpoint, to have a better offensive output than they did a year ago to convince a guy like Jeremiah. But we'll see. Still early on, but we'll see how things work with him. Another guy, Josiah Trader, JoJo, another guy that just flashes every time I see him. He made impressive highlight reel catches, you know, the one-handed catches. He can play some cornerback. He did at the event. For me, I like him at wide receiver. He's a playmaker there. There's one play in particular that stood out to me, in addition to these one-handed grabs, and you can see that I will post those on the video, as well as Jeremiah's performance. I think you guys are enjoying watching these 2 guys go to work. But Trader, at the end of the final there, they were just trying to run the clock out and some short passes, but he nearly got to the end zone just on some juke moves. So that's what stands out to me, just a really electric playmaker. He can play on both sides of the ball, but again, I like him at wide receiver. Miami certainly is doing everything they can to get him on board in this class. I think he'd be a big-time get, and Miami certainly needs to get more playmakers into the program. You know, and a couple other wide receivers that did well. Chance Robinson, having a chance to see him once again. He did well, making plays. He's just not that dynamic as those other 2 guys, but certainly a playmaker, as well as LaWayne McCoy, who I think in this first month in this offseason to start 2023 for this 24 recruiting class, to me, he's really impressed. He plays both sides. I saw him at the Raw workout event there, the tryout there, and now he's playing with the Express this past weekend. So he's a guy that makes plays, really entertaining player, fun to watch when you come to these events. High energy, seems to love the game, makes plays. He's just one of these guys. Will he continue to kind of move up in rankings? Will he continue to make plays? But I think he's a name that is going to continue to progress throughout the offseason. One of these guys that, you know, just keeps continuing to impress at these things. And I think a guy like him, these type of events are good. You know, camps coming up, you know, all that stuff in the summer. We'll see how he does well. If he does well there, if he can improve his stock and teams that are on him. But again, LaWayne played well also. So let's flip it to the defensive side of the ball. And I want to talk about these high-level these highly regarded cornerbacks. I've had a chance to see 4 of the top cornerbacks in the 24 class already, and I want to give you my impressions of them, who I think is the best at this point. So these 4 guys that I'm talking about: Ellis Robinson the 4th, Charles Lester the 3rd, also Marcellus Williams out in California, another California guy, Xavier Brown. So those are the 4 guys that I've seen already, and to me, the guy that's been the most impressive of this 4 is Charles Lester the 3rd. He played well again with the Express. The reason why I like him: he does great on press coverage. He's got great size, great length, you know, in man-to-man coverage. And I like all of his footwork stuff there that I've seen, but also a guy that makes plays. He's coming down with interceptions, and I really like that at that cornerback spot. To me, he's been the best of the 4. If I were to put a number 2 guy, I really like Marcellus Williams, you know, a guy out of California, as I mentioned. I like his physicalness. I also like his poise, the way he carries himself out there. Another guy with good footwork. So I really like those 2. Not to knock Ellis and Xavier, they're certainly very impressive corners. Any school would be glad to have any of these 4 guys. Those are just the 2 guys that have impressed me the most. I did focus quite a bit on Xavier. I'm going to have an ISO film on him on the channel from how he performed with the Express, so you can definitely check him out. I thought he did well too. You know, it's not a knock on him or Ellis. I just like these other 2 guys, what I've seen from them so far at this point. But Xavier, again, a good player, does well in man coverage, runs well with the receivers downfield, gets his head turned around to try to make plays on the ball. I like that, and he did well, you know. And these other guys on defense also did well for the Express. The headliners on the offensive side of the ball. Another guy kind of flipping back to offense was Air Nolan. Getting a chance to see him, Miami is certainly all over him with his recruitment. They really wanted to get him down here, so it was good to see him playing with the Express, left-handed quarterback. They've got 2 other guys that got reps. I would have liked to seen Air throw even more, but just watching him in all 6 of these games, you know, when he was out there, it was good to see. I think he's got a great composure about him. He throws a good ball. Anytime you have these left-handed quarterbacks, a lot of them throw the ball well, and there's no doubt that he does. So you didn't see him kind of move around too much, but again, it's 7-on-7, but he delivers the ball well. I do want to mention, I mentioned it earlier, that the wind was crazy. So it felt like 30-mile-an-hour gust, which affects the ball. I was kind of listening to a quarterback throwing passes, warming up, and he was just saying how windy it was, how it really affected his passes. And you saw it in the games. Sometimes teams would try to go downfield, but a lot of shorter passes, and I think that maybe if the wind was different, you would have seen Air throw it even more downfield. He did try some shots, but you know, he's a guy with good composure, throwing to the middle of the field and also be able to hit the sideline passes. And the last guy with the Express that I want to mention, again, a lot of playmakers on both sides of the ball, and that's cornerback Romanos Frederic out of St. Thomas Aquinas, a guy that Miami recently just offered. He's under the radar right now in terms of his ranking, but with his size at 6'1", had a couple interceptions in one game. You know, he played kind of this middle linebacker spot because you've got Lester on one side, Brown on the other along the perimeter. You know, and he was a guy that was kind of slotted inside a little bit more, but he made the most of his opportunities. He was out there quite a bit for the defense, but again, good length, good size, had some good energy. You like to see that as well when guys are out here, just kind of the way they interact with their teammates, just watching their every moves, you know, just try to learn more about these players. So good seeing him out there. I think his recruitment is really going to skyrocket moving forward these next few months, so definitely keep your eye on him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him more. Again, I was focused on Xavier, so I didn't get a chance to see him at Romanos quite as much as I would have liked, but that's what's great about these events. More camps, more 7-on-7 events coming up. Definitely stay tuned to the channel. Also stay tuned for those individual videos that I'm going to be posting, as well as the team stuff as well with the Express, with their semifinal and final game, so you can chance to see these guys, about 20-minute videos, but watch the whole thing. You get to see all of these plays that are being made. So definitely want to thank again everybody for watching the video. The super thanks for the umbrella, the fundraiser there, and everyone that has, you know, helped out with providing, you know, access to these great events. So a lot more to come. I'm going to try to continue to do these. Hopefully you guys like this video. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of the day, and take care.